5 to 8% of a small business owner's management time spent on compliance is not spent on customers, products, or employees. For a 10-person business, this is half a full-time equivalent consumed by compliance administration. The aggregate cost to Auckland's SME sector is substantial and largely invisible in economic statistics. The right response is not to eliminate regulation, but to reduce the compliance transaction cost through digital-first, integrated government services. New Zealand's banking system lends against collateral, primarily property. A tech startup in Parnell without a commercial property asset cannot borrow to hire engineers. It must raise equity from angel investors or wait. The angel market in Auckland is thin, informal, and network-dependent. Building an institutional equity market for SMEs is a structural prerequisite for the innovation-led productivity growth that closes New Zealand's long-run productivity gap. Auckland builds a multi-billion-dollar rapid transit line. The land around the new stations rises substantially in value. The infrastructure investor, ratepayers and taxpayers, receives none of that appreciation. The landowners who did nothing receive it all. This is not a market failure in the conventional sense. It is a policy failure, the absence of a value capture instrument that every major city in Europe and North America uses as standard. Without it, Auckland will perpetually underinvest in the public infrastructure that generates the value it cannot capture. Fiscal consolidation advocates are not wrong that Auckland Council has a debt problem. They are wrong that the answer is deferral rather than revenue reform. Deferred infrastructure is not a saving. It is a transfer of cost to future ratepayers who will pay more for the same infrastructure plus the compounding maintenance deficit. The fiscally responsible path is new instruments, betterment levies, TIF, land value tax, not deferred investment. Auckland's labour market is functionally two markets, a primary market of permanent employment with full protections and a secondary market of casual, gig and variable hours employment without social insurance. The secondary market is not confined to teenagers and students. It includes adult heads of household in South and West Auckland working multiple casual jobs to cover rent. The income volatility of the secondary market is absorbed partly by families, partly by community, and partly by the welfare system. The platform companies that profit from it bear none of the risk. Wages growing below productivity is not a market outcome. It is a consequence of the balance of power between workers and employers in wage setting. Low union density, no sectoral bargaining, and a minimum wage set by annual political decision, rather than automatic formula, have produced a structural bias. The fact that profit share has risen while labour share has fallen is a measurement of this bias, not a natural law. New Zealand's real GDP per hour worked was about 62% of the median of 19 OECD countries in 2019, roughly 38% below it, and the ratio has slipped from 66% over 1995-2002. The gap has not closed with GDP growth because growth in New Zealand has been driven more by labour and capital quantity than by efficiency improvement. Auckland, as New Zealand's most productive city, sets the ceiling. The gap between Auckland's actual productivity and what a well-connected city of its size should achieve is primarily an urban form and investment problem. The research evidence on agglomeration economies is that increasing a city's effective density, connected, walkable, transit-accessible, raises productivity through face-to-face knowledge exchange and labour market pooling. Auckland has the population for a major city productivity premium, but has built a suburban sprawl pattern that captures only part of it. The congestion cost, approximately $1.3 billion a year in lost productivity, is the most visible symptom. The opportunity cost of the foregone agglomeration premium is larger and less visible.